Hello, Sham. Good evening. Balakrishna, here they come. Hello, Aaron. Namaste.
Hari Om, Shankara ji.
Hari Om, Bala. Good evening, good evening.
How about you, sir?
So far, so good. Everything is going well. How about yourself?
Good, good.
Is that Shashi that I see there?
Namaste, Swami.
Brother Shankara.
Hey, hello, dear.
Namaste.
That's Haima.
Yes. How are you, Brother Shankara?
Quite well, dear.
Aima, are you in Denver or here?
I'm still here. Yes. The corona stopped me from going.
Good for us.
Hello, Cindy.
Well, I'll connect you from Denver.
Appreciating your company.
Thanks so much. I'll still connect from Denver even after I move and settle down. I can connect from Denver too.
Absolutely, you can. That's
It's a great privilege.
because we're going to keep this up. This is not going to be something that will go away after we're able to
That's right.
physically again.
Yeah. It might take a long time to get the vaccination. And
Yes.
so,
Well, you know, one expert said if this were a baseball game, this is the second inning.
yes, you're
For
right.
those of you who don't know baseball games are 9 innings long.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You're right.
So how was your Mother's Day? Good.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Very nice. And I'm kind of enjoying my solitude, really. No complaints.
Good.
See, I think it's harder for younger folks than us. We are
Yes, because they're still so
We used
busy.
to go out more, no? We can find always something to do in the house.
exactly. There's always something. Sure.
And if not, well, then there's your spiritual practice.
There you go. Most
As Swami Prabhavananda said, there's always your mantra.
definitely. Yeah, it takes most of my time, morning and evening.
One time, Swami Krishnananda, who was with Swami Prabhavananda as his sevak for decades, but he worked in the kitchen along with the other monks, cleaning up after meals and so on. And one evening there was, you should know that Swami Krishnananda was very taciturn, didn't say much. And so one evening there was just a lot of gossip going on among the monks. And the Swami just stopped what he was doing and turned to them, which they knew meant listen up. And he said, "Is there something wrong with your mantra?" That was about as close as he came to being directive.
Yeah.
But that is good instruction to us. All right, it's 8 o'clock. We'll wait just a couple of more minutes to see if anyone else joins us. And then we'll begin. And to all of you who have come on time or early, welcome so much to the class on Holy Mother's life. This is just such a joy to be studying her.
Namaste.
Ah, Swayam.
How is everybody? Namaste. Namaste.
So far, everybody seems to be okay.
Very good.
We've all made it to the meeting.
Yes.
Hari Om, Brother Shankara.
Hari Om, Naveen.
Namaste.
Namaste, namaste.
Everybody.
Namaste.
All right, here we go. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all those who are suffering and to all those who are joyous everywhere. So we're at that point in the book where Mother is beginning to establish a residence in Jairambati. Jairambati, as we'll hear, was a dear place to her. So I'm going to start back just a little bit from where we left off last week. In Jairambati, where Holy Mother was born and brought up, she felt relaxed. When she was in Calcutta, she always pined for the rural environment, fresh air, vast meadows, and the open-hearted conversations with her neighbors that she enjoyed in the village. We have no detailed information of her life during this period, but we know that she must have helped her mother with housework and served the devotees. And that, of course, would be a given Mother's nature. She was just always busy and always serving. A new chapter began in Holy Mother's life. She was no longer Sarada the shy. She was no longer Sarada, the shy and timid village girl. She started to assume her role as Jagadamba, the mother of the universe. Now this is, let us take this very much to heart, because this is how the monks of the order began to deal with her and see her, encouraged by Swami Vivekananda and others, Sharadananda. She began to assume her role as Jagadamba, the mother of the universe. Her speech and demeanor changed. Her motherly love and compassion had to be, oh, goodness me. Her motherly love and compassion, her patience and forbearance, awakened to a greater extent. It was always there, as you can see if you study her life at Dakshineshwar. She was patient, forbearing, loving. But now, because she had so many who looked to her for spiritual guidance, for instruction, very personal instruction, and sustenance. Not so much physical sustenance, but psychological and spiritual sustenance. She had resolved to fulfill her mission to demonstrate the motherhood of God. This was what Sri Ramakrishna left her to do. That's what he told her. Your mission is to demonstrate the motherhood of God. At that time, it was not easy to reach Jairambati, but devotees from far and near gradually began to visit Holy Mother there to receive her grace and spiritual instructions. She lived in a small mud hut that belonged to her brother Prasanna Kumar, and her visitors stayed in another mud hut, which was used as the parlor. Holy Mother's, parenthetically it says, Holy Mother's cottage has been preserved by the Ramakrishna order. And of course, there's a small temple there in Jairambati also to the Mother. It's a great place of pilgrimage now. It's a true tirtha. In 1877, Shamasundari had started to worship Mother Jagadatri every year, and Holy Mother tried to be present for the worship. During Jagadatri Puja on 10 November 1891, Swami Chetanananda, Haramohan Mitra, Vaikunta Nath Sayal, Kali Krishna, later Swami Virajananda, Yogin Ma, and Golap Ma went to Jairambati. Now, for those of you who don't know, the episode of Virajananda, there'll be much more about it in the book. And he became a president of the order, of course, and was quite a remarkable man. Virajananda left a wonderful account of Holy Mother's life there. How happy the mother felt at our arrival. She seemed to be utterly at a loss as to how she could make us comfortable. All that she did ceaselessly for our entertainment, from dawn to night, did not appear to her sufficient. She herself cooked both morning and evening. What a variety of dishes, and how delicious they were. There was something ethereal about that taste. And you can imagine there was. This was the mother of the universe putting her holy energy into the food. Oh my God, what it must have been. There was something ethereal about that taste. She would be sitting close by us as we took our meals and insisted that we must eat more. Sometimes she would prepare some curry that Sri Ramakrishna liked. Four of us, Sharadananda, Haramohan, Vaikunta, and Virajananda, were accommodated in a small room in the outer apartment of the house. Just by the side of it, there was an open hall where the Jagadatri Puja was to be held. The back door of our room, this is now Virajananda still speaking, the back door of our room opened into the inner courtyard. At its other end was the thatched cottage of the mother. Sometimes, when the door was kept open, I could see her on the veranda of her cottage, dressing vegetables or doing some other household work. I saw Mother cleaning the dishes in the small pond and carrying cooking and drinking water in a pitcher from the Talpukur, Banerjee's pond, on her waist, like other village women. I had voluntarily taken up the task of plucking flowers and bell leaves for the puja from the interior of the village and from the bushes and trees on the river. As I was very young, the mother did not maintain her usual bashfulness in my presence. Hence, it became my duty to run errands for Sharat Maharaj, Saradananda, and elderly devotees. In that connection, I had to go to Mother's apartment, to the inner apartments, to bring this and that. This was for me a great blessing, since I got the opportunity to see Holy Mother several times a day. And she blessed him. Oh Lord, how she blessed him. That's one of the reasons he became what is. She said such sweet things to him. We used to call Holy Mother's mother, Didima, grandmother. She was a very simple and sweet-natured woman. She always kept herself busy with the many duties of her household, such as looking after the cattle, cleaning the cowshed, feeding the laborers in the field, husking rice, and so on. Yet one never missed the graceful smile on her face. She would tell us many stories of Sri Ramakrishna's youth, how he would sing and make women laugh with jokes and frivolous stories. And this is very true if you read the master, the great master, or his divine play. There's a lot of detail about this. He was a great favorite, Thakur, Gadai, as he was known in those days, Sri Ramakrishna. His birth name was Gadadhar. And so he was known as Gadai. And he made it his business to make these women's life more pleasant and more uplifted. And so anyway, he would make them laugh with jokes and frivolous stories. When we called her Didima, that elderly woman was beside herself with joy. One day a Baul, Haridas Vairagi of Deshra, came to the door of the house and asked for alms. He was singing a song relating to Parvati, the consort of Shiva, to the accompaniment of a violin. Oh, Uma, my darling, Parvati is also known as Uma, for those of you who don't know. Oh, Uma, my darling, what good things I hear. People say you are adored in Varanasi as Annapurna. Annapurna is the supplier of food and other needs. People say you are adored in Varanasi as Annapurna. Is this true? Is it true? Oh, Gauri, she was also known as Gauri, Parvati, Uma, Gauri, all interchangeable names. Oh, Gauri, when I married you to Shiva, he went as a beggar from door to door for a morsel of food. But today, how glad I am to hear you are now queen of the world, seated by his side. And they called my name Shiva, and they called my naked Shiva a madman. How much abuse I had to hear from everyone. Now I hear that people say, oh, now I hear that doorkeepers guard his palace, and gods like Indra, Chandra, and Yama can hardly see him. Shiva used to live in the Himalayas. Many a day he got his food by begging. Now he rules over Varanasi and is as rich as Kuvera, and as rich as Kuvera. So, this is a wonderful story of Shiva. And of course, the parallels with Sri Ramakrishna are very apparent. Is it you who have brought him all this good fortune? No doubt he is very rich now. Else why should Gauri be so proud? She does not cast her eyes even upon her own children and turns her face away from Radhika. The song cast a spell on all of us who listened. Emotions rose high. Yogan Ma and Golap Ma asked him to sing that song again, and they gave him some money. Didn't the words bring a true picture of our own Holy Mother? Didima said, well, in those days, people called my son-in-law a lunatic. They expressed their grief at Sharada's lot. How many abuses they hurled at me too. There was no end to my silent agony. But today, see how many men and women from respectable families are looking upon Sharada as a goddess and worshiping her feet. And of course, this was true. At certain times of the day, Mother would allow this. She would sit and put her feet actually out in front of her. And, people would offer flowers and sandal paste and other things at her feet. During our stay at Jairambati, we visited Kamarpukur a number of times. For those of you who don't remember, Kamarpukur is Sri Ramakrishna's home village, and was Sharada's Holy Mother's in-laws lived there. During our stay at Jairambati, we visited Kamarpukur a number of times. When returning to Jairambati, we would bring jaleebis and other sweets for Mother from Kamarpukur. Most of it, however, would be given to us during our refreshments. In other words, Mother kept nothing for herself. Most of it that was brought back from Kamarpukur would be given to us during our refreshments, along with puffed rice mixed with ghee. Puffed rice mixed with ghee is considered a real delicacy and very filling, very nourishing. The Jagadatri Puja was performed with great ekla. In other words, great ceremony and very well performed in every respect. The Jagadatri Puja was performed with great ekla. The image of Mother Jagadatri was beautiful. One felt that she had really come in flesh and blood to accept the offerings of her children. Holy Mother herself would be seen standing near the place of worship with folded hands during Arati, the evening vespers, and sometimes fanning the goddess with a chamara, an oxtail. All the days she was intensely occupied with other women in arrangements for the puja and cooking, the Jagadatri Puja, like those pujas that goes on for days. The worship continued for 3 days, and many hundreds were sumptuously fed every day. If you can imagine, in a small village like Jairambati, many hundreds, were sumptuously fed every day. In other words, people were coming for that purpose. There was a yatra, a theatrical performance, on 2 nights, and many people of adjoining villages came to see the performance. After 3 days of worship, the immersion ceremony was a moving sight. For those of you who don't know, after an image is worshipped, it is worshipped in a nearby river or lake, or and it's made of clay, so it dissolves. This is done, for example, in Hollywood. The only puja that is done there, where there is such an image, is Kali Puja. Kali Puja normally happens in November, and after the puja, the Saturday after the puja, which will take place normally on a Sunday, the image is taken on a boat to Newport Beach. It's taken to Newport Beach and gotten on a boat and put on a boat, and it's very festive. It's a very, very festive occasion. Devotees come along, and the boat takes the party out more than a mile into the ocean. This has all been agreed to. It's happened for years and years and years now. And the image is immersed in the ocean. And all of the flowers and other vegetation that has been offered along is also put in the water. So it's a very beautiful moment when the image is immersed in the ocean, and all of these flowers and other the leaves and so on. I'm not sure they're bell leaves. I forget what. Maybe they're beautiful leaves, but in any event, whatever the leaves are. And of course, because the puja goes on essentially all night, there are lots of flowers and lots of vegetation. If ever you're out in California at that time of year, be sure and participate in the Kali Puja and also in the immersion if you can. You have to make a reservation to go on the boat. It's a wonderful, wonderful. Well, I can't say enough about it. Years and years I participated. It was just so uplifting. It's singing to the mother, singing. The whole boat is just filled with fervor and joy. After 3 days of worship, the immersion ceremony was a moving sight. Holy Mother and other women burst into tears, and this often happens. Some of the devotees burst into tears at the Kali immersion also. This mother that they have worshipped is now going to dissolve into the elements. Days passed in supreme happiness. A couple of days after the puja, all 4 of us were suddenly attacked by malaria. In that small room, we lay in adjoining beds, shivering with high temperatures. Holy Mother's worries knew no bounds. She would stand at the threshold of the door and look at us with love and compassion. One could hear her exclaim, "Oh, what a pity. My sons are suffering so much. What a wretched, out-of-the-way village this is. It is hard to get any milk to prepare this sago." I assume that sago was something that they used to treat malaria. With bowl in hand, Holy Mother would go to with bowl in hand, Holy Mother would go to the villagers who had a cow for a little milk. In those villages, the farmers paid more attention to the bullocks that cultivate the land and fed them more. The milk cows were neglected, so the output of milk was scanty. After collecting 1 or 2 cups of milk, Holy Mother would prepare our diet. However, we recovered after a few days and took our normal food. When Holy Mother was born in Jairambati and in that area of West Bengal, malaria had not come. There was not yet any malaria. So this is something that sometime during those years it appeared. So we recovered after a few days and took our normal food. Because our long stay in Jairambati might cause additional physical strain on Mother, we decided to return to Calcutta. Although she insisted that we stay longer, we somehow convinced her that we should return to Calcutta. The bullock carts were ready, and after lunch, we boarded them. Didi Ma and the neighbors were present, and the Holy Mother was standing in front of the back door of the house, silently watching the scene from a distance, silently watching the scene from a distance. Her face was puffy and reddish from the tears that rolled from her eyes. Now, this is something for us to hold in our imagination, because Holy Mother has not gone anywhere. Holy Mother is present in each of our shrines, in each of our hearts, and that love that she has for us, and her sorrow when we must go away from her, and so on. This is not something. Mother is here. Mother is here. The carts moved on. Mother was following us. Repeatedly, we implored her to return, but she would not listen. At last, the carts passed by Talpukur, the southern border of the village, and we entered the extensive meadow outside the village. As long as I could see from inside the cart, I watched Mother standing by the side of the pond with her eyes fixed on us. So when we chant Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai Durga Durga Durga, this is what we're invoking. Mother's presence, looking after us. So before we move on, this is a nice place to stop. And because we're about to take a turn here, so to speak, and it's almost 8:30. So are there any comments or questions or anything that we'd like to say? As I repeat, this is our studying the art of spirituality together. What has this given rise to you in your heart? What do you feel? What do you think? What are your questions? Anything at all?
Brother Shankara,
Yes.
did Mother remain back there in the village? While
Did Holy Mother remain in the village?
Uh-huh.
When these particular people went away after Jagadhatri Puja, yes. She was, as we'll see, she goes back and forth between Jairambati and Calcutta.
Okay.
She stays in Calcutta because she serves so many there.
Mm-hmm.
She stays there as long as she can stand it, is what it amounts to. She said, I feel like a bird in a cage here.
Yeah.
And so she would stay as long as she could stand it. I mean, in the later years, hundreds and hundreds of people would come every week on a given day. I mean, the line would go on just to come and touch her feet. And in that instance, she was veiled, so it was hot, and she had to wear her veil. Calcutta, even in those days, could be very oppressive, particularly at certain times of the year. The air was close and not clean.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mother had this upstairs room, set of rooms above the Udbodhan office. So she would stay as long as she could, and then she would go back and spend some time and recover herself, so to speak, in Jairambati. Good.
Brother Shankara, I want
Yes,
to ask one question.
Yes, Sham.
What was the opinion of the people of Jairambati about Holy Mother at that time?
Well, they knew her growing up as just this village girl. Then they knew her as what they thought of as this wife of a madman, and that had gone away to this temple in Dakshineshwar and had gone completely stark raving mad. And then she went away and served him. And now she's come back, and like Didima, like Shama Sundari, it didn't escape their notice that many, many people of, as Didima said, of respectable families were coming and worshiping Mother's feet. So this didn't escape their attention. Though they began to, they were somewhat taken aback and awed by all this, but they definitely became somewhat more deferential. But she still had to pay for that milk she went and got. I mean, it isn't that they didn't. It's like it's said in the Old Testament, a prophet is without honor in his own country. And so this extended to mother to some degree. Although some of the families, like the Laha family and so on, came to understand that something had happened. And this was not the shy and modest village girl that they knew growing up, and that Prasanna had recognized. Good question, Sham. How did they see her? Well, it was hard for them to ignore what was happening. Very important people from Calcutta and other places, all over the country, really, because the master had devotees from East Bengal, from in the far north. He even had some devotees from the south. So they now they were transferring, not transferring, so to speak, but spreading their reverence and sharing it with mother as well. Anything else?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Swayam.
so why is it that some people were able to see the divinity and feel, whereas others remained not ignorant or not able to see it? Is it the gunas in the people, or?
There are two opinions. One is that, as you said, it is the karma of those people to be blind, but another is another opinion, and this is I'm more persuaded to this opinion, that mother would pull the veil over their eyes, because she didn't want to be worshipped there in Jairamba. She didn't want to become the village goddess. She didn't want to replace Shitala. She wanted this to be a place that was a refuge for her. And of course, as time went on, many devotees came. But she would keep that very confined to her compound. Very rarely did things happen like this Jagadatri Puja. That happened every year. But it wasn't that she allowed herself to become a village deity. And so my feeling is that she somewhat pulled the wool over the eyes of these people, so that there wouldn't be this, that wouldn't become the transaction, that she would become the deity. That she wanted to have this place as a refuge, and she didn't want to impose herself or what she had become on the villagers. She was very sweet and kind. We'll hear more about that later as the book develops. Very good question. Why didn't everyone see Mother for who she was? I'm not sure there's a definitive answer, Swayam. I mean, we have to look to ourselves. Why don't we see the divinity in others? Thomas Merton had this experience. He's standing there in the street in Lexington, Kentucky, and he's seeing everyone, every human being there shining like the sun. And he said, what a grace, what a privilege it is to be a human being. But it took years of practice for Merton to attain the state where his eyes were opened in that way. And it wasn't a vision that, like all of those things, though it left an indelible mark on him, he didn't see people like that all the time after that either. So we come to see the divinity but Mother still Mother still shows her simple village woman side, even here and now in Georgia. I'll post a poem, a Mother's Day poem written about Thakur Ma on the center's Facebook page. And you can see what I mean by that remark. That Mother continues to show her simple village woman self to devotees right here in Georgia. She and Thakur live in a mountain cabin in the North Georgia hills. You'll see from the poem. Well, maybe at the end, I tell you what, I'll post it there, but maybe at the end of this, I'll just read it aloud. It's easy enough to read it
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
aloud. Anything else? Okay. Well, we'll go ahead with the story. Of the subhead is Holy Mother Blesses Vivekananda. While in Madras in March and April of 1893, now that, mind you now, this is 1893, the year in which Vivekananda makes his mark in the world. In September 11, 1893, at the first World's Parliament of Religions that was held as part of the Chicago Exposition of 1893. So in March and April 1893, Vivekananda, while he was in Madras, Vivekananda had a significant dream. Swami Vivekananda saw Ramakrishna walking into the ocean and beckoning him to follow. He also heard the command, go. Although Swamiji was now certain of his journey to the West, he felt it was, he had been encouraged by the Maharaj of Khetri and others who said they'd pay his expenses to go to this World's Parliament of Religions to represent Sanatana Dharma. So even though Vivekananda was already certain of his journey to the West, that he was going to go, he still felt it necessary to seek Holy Mother's permission. He wrote to Swami Chetanananda, I have had a vision in which the Master told me to go to the West. My mind is quite disturbed. Please tell Holy Mother everything and let me know her opinion. Chetanananda went to Holy Mother and read Swamiji's letter to her. Holy Mother did not respond immediately, but asked Chetanananda to wait. After a couple of days, Holy Mother had a similar dream. She saw Ramakrishna walking over the ocean waves and asking Narendra to follow him. So this is the story. You'll hear different versions of this, but as far as Chetanananda is concerned, this is the authentic story. So Vivekananda writes to Chetanananda. Chetanananda goes to Jairambati, reads the letter to Mother. She says, wait. After a couple of days, Holy Mother had a similar dream. She saw Ramakrishna walking over the ocean waves and asking Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, to follow him. Then Holy Mother told Chetanananda, please write to Narendra that he should go to the West. Swamiji was overjoyed when he received Holy Mother's approval. Now, you can see this in when you read his own letters, Vivekananda's letters, you can see in his letters how confident this made him. His opinion of Holy Mother was higher, even though all of the other monks came to see her for who she was. Vivekananda understood more about her than the others. Swamiji was overjoyed when he received Holy Mother's approval. In his reminiscences of Swamiji, Kiran Chandradatta, in his reminiscences of Swamiji, Kiran Chandradatta included this story that Swami Turiyananda had shared with him. Swamiji was then in Madras, and his devotees, Swamiji's devotees, were arranging to send him to America. In a vision, Swamiji saw the master motioning to him to go to the West, but he decided to get permission from Holy Mother before making his final decision. He did not know, this is why I say there are versions of this. He did not know whether the mother was in Jairambati or Calcutta at the time, so he wrote to Sharat Maharaj in Alambazarmat to forward his letter to Holy Mother. Sharat Maharaj forwarded the letter to Holy Mother. You see how there's a little difference in the story. In one version, the one that Chetanananda feels is authentic, Saradananda actually takes it to her. Sharat Maharaj forwarded the letter to Holy Mother, who was then in Jairambati. A few days later, Holy Mother said to her, brother Kali, today Naren's letter will come. You go and pick it up from the mailman. Kali replied, today is not the mail delivery day. At that time, the mail was delivered once or twice a week, and the mailman would wait at a particular place to give someone the letters for Jairambati. The post office was in Amur, 3 or 4 miles away. Holy Mother insisted, Kali went to the local mail station and found that the mailman was waiting with a single letter, which was addressed to Holy Mother. Urgent was written on it on the envelope. So, 2 versions of the story. Amazed, he took the letter and returned to Jairambati. He told the mother, sister, you have a letter. She was cutting vegetables just then. She asked Kali, open the letter and read it to me. After listening to the letter, she said, bring some paper and pen and write to Naren, certainly you should go to the West. This is the master's work. This will do good to humanity. So 2 different versions. In one, related by Swami Charadananda, he took the letter to Jairambati. Mother asked him to wait, and after 2 days, when she had had a similar dream, then she gave him the news that he was to give to Vivekananda. Now we have this different version of the story. Shamasundari was sitting nearby, repeating a mantra. She had heard everything and said, Saru, which is what she called her daughter, Saru, where are you sending Naren? That country is beyond 7 oceans and 13 rivers. Holy Mother replied, last night the master appeared to me and said, tomorrow Naren's letter will come. This is the work of the Divine Mother. It will do good to humanity. Give him your permission to go. It seems Holy Mother's letter to Swamiji was mailed to Sharat Maharaj in Alambazarmat, and he sent it to Swamiji in Madras. So 2 versions of this story. You can select from it whatever details you like. The bottom line is the Holy Mother knew that Vivekananda should go to The Holy Mother knew that Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, should go and that it would do good to humanity. And here we are sitting as part of that beneficence. This place exists as a direct result of Swami Vivekananda being in Chicago in 1893. So how are we doing for time? Okay. Any comments or questions about that little episode? Okay. The next subhead is Holy Mother returns to Balu. Now, remember, we just had an episode that happened in March and April of 1893. Now, Holy Mother returned to Calcutta in July 1893. She stayed with Balaram's family for a few days, and then her devotees rented Nilambar Mukherjee's garden house at Belur for her, the same house where she had stayed in 1888. Holy Mother moved there with Yogin Ma, Golip Ma, and Swami Trigunatitananda, who had become her attendant and ran errands. He was very young at that time, Trigunatitananda, just a boy. It was a very quiet place. In those days, it was indeed a very quiet place. That's what we were told when we went there in 1893, that it was a true garden house, removed from everything. Holy Mother spent most of her time there in worship, japa, and meditation. It is wonderful how the disciples of Mother sincerely and joyfully served Holy Mother, and the disciples of the Master. I'm sorry, it is wonderful how the disciples of the Master sincerely and joyfully served Holy Mother. For example, Swami Trigunatitananda would pick flowers for Holy Mother to use in her morning worship. In the evening, he would spread a white cloth under the, can someone read that word, please? Balakrishna, are you there? It's a flip.
Shafalika?
Say it again, please.
Shafalika?
Shifalika. Okay, it's in italics, so it's hard for me to read.
Yeah.
He would spread a white cloth under the shifalika, a fragrant white flower tree, so that its blossoms would not fall into the dust. It was probably in July or August of 1893 that Holy Mother performed the Panchatapa. Now, this is the hottest part of the year. Panchatapa, for those of you who don't remember, well, maybe it'll go on and describe it, so I won't describe it. We'll see. It was probably in July or August of 1893 that Holy Mother performed the Panchatapa, or the austerity of 5 fires, on the roof of Nilambar's house. This severe austerity is observed by sitting for japa and meditation from dawn to dusk, surrounded by 4 fires and the blazing sun above, and sitting there all day long. This severe austerity is observed by sitting for japa and meditation from dawn to dusk, surrounded by 4 fires and the blazing sun above. It may be remembered that when Holy Mother went to Varanasi after Ramakrishna passed away, her mind was grief-stricken. A woman ascetic of Nepal, who was an adept in various kinds of sadhana, advised the mother to perform the Panchatapa to calm her mind. So that had been years before. Holy Mother had also a couple of visions in Kamarpukur regarding the Panchatapa ceremony when she was living there by herself. Holy Mother had also a couple of visions in Kamarpukur regarding the Panchatapa ceremony. Accordingly, Holy Mother decided to perform it. There's a picture in the book of the roof of Nilambar's house where Sarada actively practiced the Panchatapa. You can still go there. It's in the possession of the order now. A thick layer of earth was laid on the roof of Nilambar's house, and 4 blazing fires of dried cow dung cakes were lighted in a square 7.5 feet apart from each other. Now, blazing fires 7.5 feet apart. This is a small square in which the mother is seated. A thick layer of earth was laid on the roof of Nilambar's house, and 4 blazing fires of dried cow dung cakes were lighted in a square 7.5 feet apart from each other. Holy Mother recalled, sometime after the Master's passing away, I often had a vision of a bearded sannyasin who asked me to perform the Panchatapa ceremony. In the beginning, I didn't pay any heed to it, and moreover, I was unaware of what the Panchatapa was. But when the sannyasin insisted, I asked Yoganma, about it. She said, well, Mother, I shall perform it with you. Arrangements were made for the Panchatapa ceremony at Nilambar Babu's house in Balu. Blazing fires of dried cow dung were lighted on 4 sides, and the scorching sun was overhead. After a morning bath in the Ganges, I approached the fire and found the flames up. I was seized with a great fear and wondered how I could enter the area and remain seated there until sunset. After repeating the Master's name, I entered the area surrounded by fires. I felt as if they had lost their heat. It felt as if they had lost their heat. She took the Master's name and entered the area surrounded by fires. It felt as if they had lost their heat. Thus I practiced this discipline for 7 days. As a result, my fair complexion became like black ashes. After that, I never saw that sannyasin anymore. Now, if you remember, Sri Ramakrishna used to be visited by a bearded sannyasin as well. And sometimes he would have a trident, and sometimes he would threaten the Master. One time, the dark side of Sri Ramakrishna's personality emerged from his body, and the sannyasin killed it with that trident. So this sannyasin was not unknown to Thakur Ma. Remember, if we remember, they are not 2 people, they are one being in 2 forms for the benefit of humanity. That's why they take the 2 forms. And so Mother had okay, it's 8:55, but I'll just read this last. Holy Mother related another vision regarding the Panchatapa practice. While I was in Kamarpukur, I saw with my physical eyes a girl about 11 or 12 years old like Radu. She wore an ochre cloth and rudraksha beads around her neck, and her hair was dry and shaggy. She accompanied me wherever I went. And now, mind you, she said, I saw her with my physical eyes. After I performed the Panchatapa ceremony at Nilambar Babu's house in Belur, that girl disappeared. I never saw her again. The external fire of the Panchatapa relieved the burning anguish within that Holy Mother had felt since the Master's passing, and she felt an inner peace. Years later, when a devotee asked her about the Panchatapa, she said, yes, it was necessary. Parvati, The Divine Mother practiced the austerity to obtain Shiva as her husband. Then she added, I performed this austerity to set an example for others. Otherwise, people would say, what is extraordinary about her? She eats, sleeps, and moves about like ordinary people. When an intimate disciple wanted to know the real reason that she went through this ordeal, she said, my child, I went through it for the sake of all of you. Can you practice austerities? This is why I had to do it. If we take any hold upon God in our prayer, it is by thy grace alone, since all thine austerities were practiced for our sake. They did nothing for themselves. So there is this part of it that her mind was relieved of grief and anguish. And two beings that had been with her for all those years, the old sannyasin and this young girl, both disappeared. Something changed. But when she was asked about it, she said, I did it for all of you. Can you practice austerities? And this is what the Master said about us in the Kali Yuga. We're too dependent on stimulation. We're not able to do such things. So that is why, this is why I had to do it. So with that, we'll leave it at that. We'll go on next week with more about Mother's presence at Nilambar Babu's house. But any comments or questions, please. This is, again, where we have the opportunity to be good to one another by sharing ourselves and letting others know how this affects us. And what does this give rise to you and give rise to in you? This is powerful stuff.
Shankara ji,
Yes, Balu.
Swami Brahmananda had a similar thing. When somebody asks anything, sometimes he would give an answer. Sometimes he would say, oh, my mind is not working. I will let you know tomorrow. For
Yes.
anything, is the same way.
Yes.
Mother was saying the same thing for Vivekananda. It is so, that proves that is her spiritual son.
Yes. Yes, he would say, my mind is not working, or my stomach is upset.
Yes.
He would give some reason why he couldn't answer right away. And of course, what they're doing is they're waiting for the depth of conviction that will allow them to say what will affect the disciple's life.
That is why when Prabhupada asked him, why do you take this one? Are you getting the message from God every time you do something? And Swami Brahmananda says, yes, I don't do anything without the permission of the Lord.
Without the Lord's specific direction.
Instructions.
Yes. Yes. And so Prabhupada then said, you mean every one of your disciples is chosen that way? And,
yes, that's
and Brahmananda said yes, which made Prabhupananda's, Abani as he was in those days, made his heart absolutely leap for joy. That there was no question that it was by the Lord's direct will that he was Raja Maharaj's disciple. And he would tell that story. I mean, he loved to tell that story. And it wasn't that he was bragging. He was just saying, this is who Raja Maharaj was.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
actually, I remember another thing when you said, forgot, you said your mantra had a problem or something in the beginning, you said. For the same thing, Brahmananda, one time, Prabhupada saying something about Gopal Ma playing with the, Krishna and all those things.
Mhm.
So he was saying something, it was all, something about the mind and all those things. Swamiji comes from outside. So you became an omniscient?
Yes. So you have become omniscient. He said it in English. And then he said, show me the line of demarcation where
Yes.
the world of matter ends and the world of spirit
And the
begins.
spirit comes.
Beautiful. Thank you, Balu. Anyone else?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear Swayam.
can you expand a little bit on how do we understand that they did the austerities for us?
Well, that's the only reason they come, is to overcome the world. As Jesus said, I have overcome the world. Did he do it for himself? No, he did it for his disciples. These great ones come, breaker of this world's chain. We adore thee whom all men love. Spotless, taking man's form, O purifier, thou art above the gunas three. Knowledge divine, not flesh. Thou whom the cosmos wears a diamond at its heart. This is who Sri Ramakrishna is. And why did he come? How great was thy sacrifice, freely choosing thy birth in this prison, our iron age, to unchain us and set us free. So they do the austerities for two reasons. So that they perfect themselves, as Holy Mother said, when an avatar takes human form, they are subject to all the limitations. That means all the limitations of the three worlds: waking, dreaming, dreamless sleep, waking consciousness, subconsciousness, unconsciousness, or latent subconsciousness. They have to overcome all this so that their power so that they can make a treasure house of their power and pass it on to us. And so what does it say? If we take any hold, speaking as the devotee, Vivekananda speaking as the devotee, if we take any hold upon God in our prayer, it is by thy grace alone, since all thine austerities were practiced for our sake. So that they could pass along their spiritual power, their spiritual treasure to us. And it also inspires us. It inspires us so that we, as the Holy Mother said about the Panchatapa, I did it as an example for others, yes. It inspires us, and if we cling to them, let us look deep in thine eyes. They are bright with the wisdom of God that can wake us from Maya's spell. And then let us hold fast to thy feet, treading the waves of the world to safety. If they didn't do these things, why would we be inspired to hold fast to their feet? I mean, Christ was murdered, brutally murdered, for proving to the world who he was. And he knew it was going to happen and let it happen anyway, and said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," so that his work could continue to unfold over thousands of years, as Vivekananda says in Christ the Messenger. Christ's work is still unfolding. We have no idea how much and how far and what more is there to be unfolded. If you read Christ the Messenger, what he says about the Christ incarnation and the 3 years of his ministry, he says, so much is compressed into that. And the same is true of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. And we are so blessed to have very detailed descriptions of their lives so that we can be deeply moved and deeply inspired by their lives and by their examples and what they did for us. So let us hold fast to thy feet, treading the waves of the world to safety. And then how does that end? Love, who art partial to none, we are equal before thy sight. Taker away of our pain, we salute thee, though we are blind. And then come to the heart's dark cave and illumine. If we're blind, we can make that request. We can ask the Lord. If we ask sincerely, Sri Ramakrishna says, I will surely come. Thank you, Swayam, for that question.
Shankara ji,
Yes, dear.
that Ramakrishna also said, I did all the austerities, the whole 16 annas for you.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do 1 anna.
Yes, 1/16.
Yes.
So if we translate that into hours of the day, 1/16 of 24 is an hour and a half a day. That's enough. That's one way of looking at it. I'm not saying that's the definitive answer to what's meant by 1/16 or 1 anna, but it certainly is an answer.
Brother Shankara, I want to ask you one question.
Yes, Sham.
In the recent history of Ramakrishna Mission and what, is there any other Swami who has done a Panchatattva like this?
I have no idea. I've never heard of it, but that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But there's a lot that has gone on among the Swamis of the order that is not made known to us. I mean, there's a lot of tradition in the order that remains in the oral tradition, and so I don't know. It's a good question. Write to President Maharaj and ask him. See what he says. Okay, I said that at the end I would read you something. So let me pull it up and I'll read it to you. This is a Mother's Day poem. And just to give you an idea, it was read by Swami Chetanananda to his congregation on Mother's Day. It's called Ma and Pa in Georgia. Ma and Pa in Georgia. After we have finished worshiping her in our shrine on a Saturday or a Tuesday, Sri Sarada slips out of her red-bordered sari and puts on a simple house dress. Then you may find her in the kitchen of their North Georgia hill country cabin, chopping vegetables, soaking kidney beans for chili or red beans and rice, or skinning the fish that Rakal catches in a nearby pond. He doesn't live with Ma and Pa. The master has him busy working all over the world. Maybe you've heard of his adventures in Hollywood, California, and in Brazil. Sometimes, though, if you're lucky, you may find Mother out on their front porch, picking a lively tune on her banjo and watching the master and Ramana Maharshi dance. She was asked by a devotee, or maybe it was the master that was asked. This cabin in the mountains, what are you doing here? And the answer was very simple. We live here. We live here. So they live here. And as far as I'm concerned, every word of that poem that you just heard is true. Anything more?
Brother Shankara, did you write the poem?
Yes. As far as in as much as I write anything, that is to say, the craft of putting the words like that together was done here. Yes.
That's
Where the poems come from. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
I said that was lovely. And question I have is, so Rakal being sent to all these places, is that symbolic of different swamis, or is it?
No, he it's not symbolic of different. He literally, if you asked Swami Prabhavananda, you didn't have to ask him, he would tell you. I didn't do this, he said. The Hollywood Center is the biggest center. The Vedanta Society of Southern California is the biggest of the Vedanta centers anywhere outside of India, any of them in the West. Swami Prabhavananda said, this is Rakal's doing. He didn't call him Rakal, he called him Raja or Maharaj. This is his doing. And then the story of what happened in Brazil, it's just, there are other stories. It wasn't included because the details weren't clear enough in the mind. But this story is clear. There was a wealthy man among the Brazilian congregation of Swami Nirmalatmananda. And he was imploring the master to tell him what to do with his wealth that would be of benefit, especially to the children of Brazil. And he was in his bathtub one day. He was taking a bath, and who should appear at the foot of the bathtub? Out of the water arose Rakal Maharaj and gave him instructions, detailed instructions on what to do. And the man said, "What are you doing here?" And Rakal said, "The master sent me. You asked, here I am to tell you." And he visited him more than once and coached him into creating this wonderful organization and manufacturing operation that trains these young Brazilian children in how to be successful in the world. It's very parallel to some of the things that the order does in and around Calcutta and Narendrapur and other places in India, teaching children how to live in the world and be successful in the world. So these are two instances where the details were clear enough in mind that they could be mentioned. There's something about the centers in Russia also, but when it was told to me in 2013 by the Russian, the Swami who has the work in Russia, I wasn't attentive enough to get to keep everything in mind. And there are other things as well, but these are just two. How many instances do we need? No, Rakal and Vivekananda. Vivekananda said, when he left the body, he said, I'll be more effective outside the body than in. And there are many, many instances of people seeing and having interactions with Vivekananda. Particularly, you can go to Vivekananda Retreat Ridgely up in Mid-Hudson Valley. And if you stay a while and make sincere application, you may well have a visitation, as Swami Prabhupada used to call them, from Vivekananda. Or you can talk to Swami Sarvadevananda about what happened to him when he went to Ridgely. He wasn't himself for days after his experience there, sitting in the room, meditating in the room where Swami Vivekananda used to stay. This is what I say, they haven't gone anywhere. As Vivekananda, as the master said to Mother, don't weep and tear your clothes and take off your jewelry. I've not gone anywhere, I'm just in the next room. They're with us in their subtle bodies, which are just as real as our physical bodies. We have a subtle body also that is just as real as our physical body. Anyone else? Thanks for that, Poke Swayam. That was a good question.
Thank you for that wonderful answer, Brother Shankara.
All right, dear ones, we'll call it a night. Thank you for coming. Masato ma satkamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritangamaya, abir moiti. O dearly beloved, lead us from thy lesser truth to thy highest truth. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through with thy everlasting, shining presence. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. Good night, y'all.
Good night, Brother Shankara.
See those of you who choose to come tomorrow evening. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.